Hello, my fine casters. Do you know how many spirits constitutes a playset? Well, the obvious answer seems like 20, because that's the maximum number of spirits you could have in a spirit deck. But I mean, no one's going out there and playing mono spirit element type decks. So I polled for opinion on social media, as one does, to see what the knowledge of the masses is, and I got answers that ranged anywhere as low as 8 to as high as 35, if you are an enlightened solar caster. After putting out this poll for opinion, I had an epiphany though. I run ElestralsDB, a website that has collected together all of the data for decks from premieres and Poison Nectar monthlies, about 2,000 decks at this point, if you could believe it. And you know what that means?
Visitors of battles flash before my eyes and clash as eternal, immortalizing the strife of the divines.
Which means I can simply run the numbers on it. So let's do this with math. Here is my process. We're going to take every deck that I have in my collection from various tournaments. We're going to find the spirit count that was the highest in the deck and throw away the rest. And then we're going to plot out how many decks ran that many spirits for their maximum number. We're only looking at the maximum number here because when trying to find a playset, you need to know the maximum number of the card you possibly need, right? So we can throw all of that onto a graph and get something like this. Now, having all the data in a graph, we can easily intuit some of the same information we were already getting from social media. We can see there's an obvious high spot here around 12, and there's a couple other interesting facts we can pull out from this chart. 10 people have been wild enough in history to bring a mono element deck to a premiere. Me among them, of course. And even crazier on this end, we have people who brought so many different colors in the spirit decks that on 4 different occasions, the highest number of any individual spirit they had was 4. So this is all very interesting, but we can get an even better understanding of it if we normalize this data. With this nice normalized graph behind me, we get even closer to fully understanding what we need for a playset. There is really a drastic drop-off here towards the mid-tens of spirits. So you get up from 13, 14, 15, and then there's kind of just a drastic drop-off in the number of decks you're enabling by having more spirits. So there's one more modification we can do to this chart to get to the final answer we want. We're going to turn this into a cumulative normalized graph, which is going to show us the percentage of decks that each count of spirits will enable you to build. And here is that cumulative graph. So as this graph goes, it is increasing the percentages of decks you're able to build based on the number of spirits. To get to 100% of decks all the way over here, you have to have 20 spirits to be able to build those 10 weird decks out of 2,000 that showed up. But this is now going to allow us to answer our ultimate question: what is a practical playset of spirits? At just 13 spirits here, you have enough spirits to build 88% of every deck that has ever been brought to a premiere. At 14 spirits, you hit 95%. And at 15 spirits, you can build 98.5% of all decks that have currently been taken to a premier tournament. Out of the 2,000 decks that have ever been, there's only going to be a handful you couldn't build if you had 15 of each spirit. You're going to need 20 spirits if you want to be able to build every mechanically possible deck in every element, or 35 if you want to play Peak Solar. But practically speaking, 15 spirits is a playset that will enable you to build any deck you want to bring to a premiere. In TCGs, reading is usually the problem of choice, but today we had to do some math to get to our answer. If you made it this far and stuck through the math, congratulations. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. I hope the video was helpful to you. YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy this video over here. As always, happy casting. If you have data that you would like me to delve into or ideas for future videos you'd want to see me make, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you around Elestria, folks.